Thank you, Christine, for the Bible reading, and Sabrina for the wonderful song. It's time of the year. I asked Pastor Green give me start at 10:15. They give me much earlier, and I hope we can finish by 10:45. 15 minutes for the auntie and uncles, aunties to give ang paos later on. Okay. Continuing the tradition of speaking on Chinese New Year, this is last time I spoke on Shandi, the god the Chinese have forgotten. Chinese New Year history, customs and traditions, and last year symbol and spirit of imperial reign on dragon. This time I want to dwell on coming and welcome home. Chinese New Year has a very ancient origin, 3,500 years. It's believed it originated in the Shang Dynasty. And in the Shang Dynasty, the calendar year was established. Han Dynasty, the day of the Chinese New Year was fixed. And the Qing Dynasty is no longer considered religious. And present day in China is an 8-day long crazy vacation. Why does Chinese New Year change? Date change every year, you may wonder. Chinese New Year is a lunar calendar. They use a lunar calendar, which is generally 21 to 51 days behind our usual Gregorian calendar. And so the date of the Chinese New Year falls between January 21st and February 20th. And the day of the Chinese New Year is a new moon day, usually the second after the winter solstice, that is December 21. Some of you remember Tong Yuan, when we eat Tong Yuan. As usual, continuing our tradition, there are 3 ang paos, so if you can answer any of the 3 questions. Again for it. What is another name for Chinese New Year in China? What is the name, another name for Chinese New Year in China? I have spoken before. Anyone? Another name for Chinese New Year in China? Yes, Grace? Yes, Spring Festival. Well, you got another ang pao afterwards when you get up. Okay. It is called the Spring Festival, or Chunjie, and it's half a month, the start of spring in February 4th. I spoke about the last time tradition, comparing Passover and Chinese New Year, why it starts in spring and so on. And so it is interesting. And how long is Chinese New Year? It's actually 16 days, because Chinese New Year Eve is also considered part of Chinese New Year. Today, this year is January 29th, and the Lantern Festival, February 12th. Okay? And you may wonder, it is celebrated very well. And some of the countries like Mauritius and Suriname actually a national holiday for Chinese New Year. Or more so in Southeast Asia, China, and we all celebrate the Chinese New Year. 1.5 billion people actually celebrate the Chinese New Year, a colossal number. And it creates the world's largest annual migration. Now, this year in India, there's called a Kumbh Mela, a 12-year religious gathering in the 3 confluence of the river in India, where you take a bath, you cleanse of your sin, and so 400 million is supposed to gather there in India. But Chinese New Year top 415, that was in 2019, and this year will be more. And you remember, in 2 billion people would travel by road in China. How about Malaysia? This is a massive number in China, squeezing one another. How about Malaysia? Last year was 2.4. This year, expected 2.6 million vehicles on the road, not counting train and plane. And of course, if you are in other parts of the cities in the world where there is a Chinatown, in London and so on, there's always a parade, lion dance and so on, celebrating Chinese New Year. And the record SMS text message was broken during Chinese New Year. Everybody wishing one another. 19 billion. And then, of course, in Malaysia, not just Chinese New Year, we have other celebrations like Hari Raya, which will come soon, and soon later in 2029, there will be Hongqi Raya, and Pesta Keamatan, Gawai, Deepavali, and Christmas. What is the best part in Chinese New Year? Free from work or school, okay, wearing new clothes, ladies, nowadays men also, new hairdo, new haircut, varieties of goodies. Of course, young people receiving angpaos. Don't forget, line up and get, see Auntie Noi show a lot of angpaos waiting. Okay. Festival atmosphere, we're playing of never-ending Chinese New Year songs everywhere. And of course, some people love to shop at malls and see the fanciful decoration each year and trying to outdo each other. And if you have not been to the mall, this is Gurney Plaza. So the second question that will come is, let me remember what it is. Which is the most common greeting in Chinese New Year? Which is the most common greeting in Chinese New Year? Come on. Yes. Kong Ki Fa Chai. Second, maybe. Anybody else? Okay, forget it. We think this time. Chinese New Year, whether right or wrong answer, you get ang pao. The most common Chinese New Year greeting is Guo Nian Hao, Happy New Year, right? Of course, next one is Kong Ki Fa Chai, okay? And we know that we all go home, right? And balik kampong, hui jia, and because we're missing home. When we say balik kampong, hui jia, this is a big difference between coming home and going home. When I say I'm going home, means every day I go home, right? The word coming home, hui jia, missing home, balik kampong, means you have been away from home from some time. Okay? You're from KL, 1 year back, you would go back for your kampong. You're away, and yet this time of the year, you miss home. You go home. That is the real meaning of coming home. Why? In the Chinese, of course, the most important day in Chinese New Year is New Year's Eve. Just as I think some of you, Gawai, Keamatan, and so on, actually, the day before, when you meet everybody, renewing family relationships, restoring fractured bonds, broken relationships, strengthening ties between family members. Of course, refreshing olden days, memories growing up in your kampong, in your old house, and so on. And reminiscing childhood places, I would go back and go around, walking around where I grew up. And if you happen to meet childhood friends, sit together and talk, right? And most important, of course, it's a family renewal dinner. And that's why in China, they would not miss the most important part of Chinese New Year. That's the renewal dinner. And same is Christmas Eve. So there's a saying here, no matter how dreary and grey our homes are, we people of flesh and blood would rather live there than in any other country, be it ever so beautiful. There is no place like home. Your old bed, your pillow, and everything, your smell is still there. If you your old house, right? The dogs and the cat will greet you, missing you for such a long time. And if you remember, when the first year of school, you don't like to go to school. But then as you grew up, you want to leave home. And that's when your mother or even your father would want to say, don't leave home. We miss you. Home is not home without dad or mom, right? If some of us who have lost our parents, nowadays, siblings may not want to come home because the main figure is no longer at home. My mother is 94, and there was once my parents feel that they want to travel, they want to go elsewhere. And I told my brother, how many more years can we get together for my mother? When you don't have your parents, there is no home. It's true or not? Something is always missing when you gather together. Your parents are not there. Young people, it's often, case that parents would call you, right? Often, find out how you are. How often you call up your parents and find out how they are? How often? Will you wait until your parents are no more and speak to them at the tomb site and tell how you feel about them? It's too late. Home is not home when parents are not there. And I always make sure that we have a family gathering when my mom is still around. In the olden Chinese word for home, I tried to ask Samuel Huang about this, but there is in the home, God under the home. It's the same, when your home is with God, there is a home. Well, of course, modern day Chinese have to pick there. So it's up to you to choose. You want the God to be in your home, or you want to pick in your home. Okay, but in olden Chinese, when they believe in the God, the Shangdi of God, home is where there is a God underneath the roof. You all remember the Genesis story? Adam and Eve were chased out of the Eden at home because of their sin. When you'll be chased out of your home, what will be, especially such a beautiful paradise home, what will you do? The Eden home is still there, but there's the angel guarding the eastern gate of the home. Here, Adam and Eve will bring their children and show them that was our home before, and told them the story of the fall. And here they will come and worship God, because when there are two cherubims together, there is God. And we know that the Garden of Eden, just before the flood, was taken up to heaven. There's always, because of this happening in the Garden of Eden, in each of us, and even in animals, there is a desire to sell up home when you reach a certain age, right? You don't sell up home, think of selling home when you're a teenager or baby or whatever else. But when you reach a certain age, somehow or other, there is a growing desire to set up a home, and this is ingrained because of what happened in the Garden of Eden. And so in Genesis 2:24, therefore man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And of course, when you sell a home like Derek and so on, the baby came. I hope many more will come, Uncle Derek. The baby came. And this year, we were so blessed, this church, a lot of dragon babies. Okay, and boys, hope next year, girls will come, right? Otherwise, balance of sexes will be a problem. It's good to have boys first, then you have girls, because boys will be elder, will be better, right? Good balance. So my question is this: does that your home away from home? Every Sabbath, look forward to worship with the family of God. Is Pesach a loving family, members endeavoring to maintain, uphold a loving relationship with one another? Is Pesach a family home where you can get help when you are in need? Or are you just a long-term member visitor? Can greet the family, hi, happy Sabbath. No involvement, no attachment. Would you rather mind your own business? The story of the fig tree where Jesus cursed the fig tree, the desire is just this to say to all of us, the warning is for all time. Christ's act in cursing the fig tree with his own power creates a warning to all churches and all of us. They plan and study to please themselves. They act only in reference to self. Time is of value to them only as they can gather for themselves. In all the affairs of life, this is hopefully not our object, not for others, but for themselves to the minister. Hopefully when we gather together, let us remember to make this church, especially those who are away from home, home away from home. And those who are able to do so, to minister. And you may not know, as you sit in comfortable places and home, there are a lot of homeless people everywhere in the city. This is Penang. Okay, you can see Komta there, right? And you see a person living in a car, right? A lot of homeless people. In the cities, there are city camp in Los Angeles and everywhere. A lot of homeless people. And some of us, you live in comfortable, nice room with aircon and so on. But then realize there are a lot of people living in cities called garbage city. They're born in garbage, they live in separate, they eat, they play in garbage, and they die. Remember in the Philippines there was a typhoon or whatever, and the people who lived there were buried alive because the garbage all flowed down. And the children live in that sort of thing. Jesus knows that. That's why when he started his ministry, he has no home. Jesus said, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his hand. Jesus knows the homeless people. He left his family home. He left everything. He laid aside the royal robe and kingly crown. He clothed his divinity with humanity. For our sakes he became poor. He might have become in power and great glory, but he came in humility, low parentage, in obscure and despised village. He lived a life of poverty and suffered often in privation and hunger. Just to identify with the homeless people. Could be you and me. Could be anybody else. But that's what he says. But he says, I came from beneath. You are beneath. I come from above. Ye are of this world. I am not of this world. And what is this world that Jesus came from? Let's look when he went back to heaven after his resurrection. You know, in Psalm 24, there is a sing-song. The word is cantillate. You know, intonation. One side angel will sing. The other side angel will respond. I hope that we all can. Sometimes we sing that way, right? When Jesus went up to heaven and he was received back into his heavenly home. And here the angels, one side will sing, lift up your heads with question. You gates and be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. And the other side the angel will sing, who is this King of glory? And the Lord strong and mighty, the Lord mighty in battle. And then will ask him, lift your heads, O great gates, lift up your everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is this King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Imagine the scene when he was received back, welcome home in heaven, his heavenly home. The portals of God, city of God open, angelic throngs sweep through the gates, and the burst of rapturous music to welcome him. The throne, the rainbow of promise, the cherubim and the cherubim, the commanders, the angelic hosts, the sons of God, the representatives and fallen worlds are all assembled to welcome Jesus back. Okay? The heavenly council and all are there. All came to welcome, to glorify him, to sing rapturous music. What a wonderful scene it is, to welcome him. But then Jesus remembered this promise when he went home, right? He promised to us, in my Father's house are many mansions, even not so. As I told you, I go to prepare a place for you, and I go and prepare a place for you. I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may. So he's just not going back to enjoy a luxurious paradise life. He went back to prepare. He promised. And he said, that's why from the beginning of John 14:1, he said, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. And that's the promise. Okay, the promise that he is going back for a purpose, to prepare something for us, a home. And that's in Hebrews chapter 11. All these people were still living by faith. When they died, they didn't receive the things promised. They only saw them and welcomed them from a distance. They admitted they were aliens and strangers on earth. But they desire a better country, that is heavenly, where God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. So, Jesus went back to prepare a home for us. A home can be a physical abode, and we have to get ready, and there is specification. Does God need to construct and prepare the nails and so on? No. By the word of the Lord the heavens were made, by Sarai host, by the breath of his mouth, for he spoke, and it came to be. He commanded, and it stood firm. Just so very easy for Jesus. He spoke, the heavenly city comes to being, right? We all believe that that's what Genesis told us. But more important, it is not just preparing a physical structure for us, but it's to prepare us and we ourselves to prepare. It is not money or lands or possession, but the possession of Christ-like character that will open to us the gates of paradise or the city of God. Okay, only the meek and lowly ones who have made God their efficiency will receive this gift. Law and likeness of Christ will be permitted in the holy city. So there is a qualification in order to enter into the holy city. And Jesus is helping us to prepare for that. And more important, there is a specification. What's the point of having an empty house? We need to renovate and fill in what we like, right? Our sofa, the color of the house, everything. Okay? So I like this Ministry of Healing quote. The Lord's care is over all his creatures. He loves them all, makes no difference, except he has the most tender pity for those who are called to bear life's heaviest burden. But they should accept the Lord with a cheerful spirit, remembering that for all that the world neglects to bestow, for all that your life miss out, and you feel that life is unfair. When you compare to others, why? I'm very faithful. Why I miss out? And you look at your physical defects, you miss out. And you see the things that, you suffer. God said this thing. God himself will make up to them in the best of favors. Can you imagine? This is a promise. Whatever you miss out, whatever unfair things happen, whatever you suffer, God said, when you go into your new home in the heavenly city, God himself will make it up to you. Isn't it true? When you come home to your parents' house, what will your parents do? Prepare the best, your favorite food. Your room, make sure your room is what it was before when you left, right? Everything that you like or your favors, your parents will prepare for you. Same with God. God knows what you miss out in this life, what you suffer in this life, what you feel is unfair to you. God said he will make it up to you. Is that a promise? I'm a parent. When I promise, Grace and Joseph, I always try to make it up, that promise. Is it true, Grace? Well, I promised to buy her something. It's coming. We all love to visit beautiful places in the world, right? That's why the tour agents are doing roaring business. Chinese New Year actually is the time of travel. I haven't shown you how many Chinese will travel overseas to spend their Chinese New Year. Malaysians do also. That's why Penang is clogged out with visitors, tourists from everywhere. And we all love visiting place, take picture here and there and come back, we went to this place. And then, and the most breathtaking place in this world. The world, even though it's full of sin and misery, there are still many beautiful places in the world, right? Right. And you wonder and Google and breathtaking, and you wish that you would never leave that beautiful, scenic place. But there is a verse in 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9. I have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. God prepares something for us. You know, when you look at the Genesis creation, was it done in the haphazard, shoddy manner? When we look at a beautiful earth today, can you imagine what would we be like in the Garden of Eden? Can you imagine? Our world is still in many places so beautiful. What would it be like when the earth did not sin? And God says He will prepare for us. Our love for home is a glimmer of the longing for our true home. That's why in Peter, chapter 1, it says, we are blessed with God the Father, and abundant mercy have not forgotten us into a lively hope of the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. And here is a promise, to an inheritance incorruptible, undefiled, and that fadeth not away. That is the last was reserve. Can you imagine? Reserve a place for you. You know, in every one of us, when you believe in Christ, there is a place reserved for you. Will you believe that? Not only a place of home, not only that a city in the New Jerusalem. There is a place. Your name may be hanging there. God promised. So when in the second coming of Christ, in 1 Thessalonians, the Lord descend with a shout, the dead in Christ will rise, and those who are alive will be caught up with them in heaven. And we all came from the grave in the same stature. When you're short, you come out as a short person. Okay? Adam, who stands among the risen throng, is of lofty height, majestic form in stature, but little below the Son of God. Remember, we were talking, Adam was supposed to be 12 to 15 feet tall. Eve is one head lower at the neck. They all will rise with deep slumber, freshness, and eternal youth, and no more mortality, perfect, beautiful, and immortal, no blemishes, no deformities. And everybody was asking me, Uncle Telvin, why are you walking with a limp? Everybody seemed to know. The redeemed bear the image of the Lord, immortality. You are the same person when you die. Personal identity is preserved in the resurrection. And we will recognize, I will recognize Derek, I will recognize you and me. Okay? And there is a reunion with loved ones. With the people, with the loved ones. So when you cry because somebody died, remember there is hope of a reunion in heaven. And little infants who die and you cry, they have not sinned. They will be resurrected and born to their mother's arms. Okay? We always go to faraway places, 1 hour, to Australia is 8 hours, to UK is 12 hours, to US is more than that. But when we're on our trip, when we're resurrected, we travel back to heaven, supposed to be Orion. We all enter the cloud together and were 7 days ascending to the sea of glass. Imagine 7 days getting to see each other again, 7 days talking to one another, traveling. And imagine, in Israel, there was a time when they go to the Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles, they travel from various villages along the way. What would they do? They were singing. And so when we were done, they were singing, holy, holy, and the Redeemer would shout, hallelujah. Can you imagine? They were singing, they would shout, they were joyous gladness as we travel along to heaven. And when we reach heaven, who will open the pearly gates to welcome us? Who would keep his promise? Jesus. And they say, your conflict is ended. Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. The most interesting thing was when the gates were open and all of us went in. The first Adam met the second Adam. That was something we would look forward to, right? And when the first Adam saw the cruel nails on the hands of Jesus, what would he think of? That it was his sin that caused this. The Edenic restore, Adam is reinstated in his dominant. Can you imagine you go back to your own home, and that's what Adam had. Go back to his first Garden of Eden. He saw all the things that was before. The trees he had touched, the flowers and everything, all remain the same, right? When our children leave for home, we will always try to keep the rooms just as they were, in case they come back, right? Especially those whose children have died. Some of them still maintain that room as remembrance. Here, Adam saw his own home, the home that he had been driven out, the home that he missed, the home that he regretted because of what he did. His mind grabs the reality of the sin. He comprehends that this is indeed Eden restored. God has kept his promise. But the one important thing, those of us who can't sing, who can't play a musical instrument, you will be in the heavenly choir, redeemed orchestra and choir. Jesus will play his crowns, the angels will brought harps and musical instruments, and the commanding angel will struck first note. I think all of us will sing better than Sabrina in heaven. Okay? Heavenly music. And there is a wedding feast prepared for you. Marriage supper of the Lamb. You know, in our Eastern marriage, there's always joyous occasion, right? And so it would be, you can imagine, it's a joyous renewal in the marriage supper of the Lamb. And we will be there in heaven for how long? 1,000 years. And after 1,000 years, we will come down from heaven to the earth, the old earth. And later on, God will burn the old earth and make the earth make new again. The angel in Revelation said he measured the holy city. Okay? Measured. And here's what? It's a perfect square, like the most holy place. Its perimeter is 12,000 furlongs, equivalent to 1,500 miles. It is 375 miles long on each side and also height. So imagine that city, you travel from Penang to Johor, is that big holy city that you're going to stay. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. More important, when you look at the tallest building in the world, the Burj Khalifa, 823 meters, and you look at this, how tall it is. And in Malaysia, of course, we have the Petronas, Tean Towers, and so on. And when we compare this, now this is a building, all this Tower of Babel now, and now you see this one is supposed to be the highest tower proposed, maybe going to be built in Tokyo, 10 kilometers high. And in the Tower of Babel, it's supposed to be 8,150, and that is 2 kilometers up in the sky. The Burj Khalifa is 2,716.8 kilometers only. When you fly in the aeroplane on the cruising height, what will be the height of the aeroplane? Cruising height is 37,000 feet. It's just 7 miles only. Can you imagine? I can't imagine the height of the holy city will be 375 miles high. I can't imagine. It boggles my mind. But I need to see it when they go to heaven. And of course, the wall, the city is 216 feet, is a 20-story building high. Again, I just can't imagine it, And the streets were pure gold. The gates, 12 gates, pearl. The wall was jasper. And the 12 foundations, like the colors of the rainbow, 12 foundations of precious stones. There is no temple. The gates will never be, there is no sun and moon because the glory of God, the Lamb, is there. The gates will never be closed at another day. There is no light. There is no ocean. Deserts will be replaced with gardens. There will be no curse of sin. Every animal will be tamed. No creature and all the carnivorous, voracious animals will be sitting with the children, and the children will lead them according to Isaiah. There will be no more violence in any kind. No defiling will be found. No drunkenness and so on. And no jealousy, hatred, or all human sin will be there. Every person will be physically whole. The deaf will hear, the blind will see, and the paralyzed will run. And I'll be running in heaven. There will be no more death, pain, tears, sorrow, sickness. Yes, there will be tears in heaven. During the 1,000 years when we were going through the records and see the lost ones, the missed ones, there will be tears in heaven. But after that, I think there will still be tears, but tears of joy. We will not remember all the bad things. Of course, those of you who are still single, when you are able, get married on earth, because in heaven there is no marriage. True or not? Jesus says so. Would there be family? Will I be staying with Auntie Michelle? I really don't know. If we know everything here, what is the point of going up to heaven? Right? There are still a lot of unanswered things here. Okay? But there's definitely no marriage in heaven. There is no tree of knowledge of good and evil taken away. But in the other worlds, there is still the tree of knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. But in the new earth, there is no tree of knowledge of good and evil. And we will sing and play heavenly music. Some of you don't realize that Adventists who can sing, who can play music, and I can't do anything of this. And more and more, you build country. There are two homes. One, you have a condo or whatever is in the city, and you have a countryside home. You build it according to your specification. More important is the understanding and the unveiling of truth. The history of the inception of sin, fatal falsehood, and its crooked working of truth that the serving Lord from his own straight eyes has met and conquered error, all will be made manifest. All that is unknown, all that we question, why, will be made known in the new heaven and new earth. We will have our minds developed, our capacity increased, the grandest enterprises may be carried forward, loftiest aspiration reached, highest ambition realized, new heights to surmount, new wonders to admire, new truths to comprehend, and so on when you are in heaven. So it's not something that you just all asleep or lying flat in China doing nothing. So that's because it's many Christians and other religions say heaven is so surreal. It's unbelievable. It cannot be literal. So because of that, heaven is nothing is so far away and so unreachable that we all thought that heaven is like playing harps all the time on top of the crowd, or in some other religions say heaven is like going into nothingness. You're nothing. So what's the point of going to heaven? Might as well enjoy life on earth. But what we want us to know, language fails to express the value of the immortal inheritance. The glory, riches, and honor offered by the Son of God are of such infinite value that it's beyond the power of men or even angels to give any just idea of their worth, their excellence, and their magnificence. Here is my bucket list. I hope you can develop your bucket. A bucket list means something you wish you would do before you kick the bucket on earth. Here is my bucket list. I like to face with the heavenly trio. We all heard about the Heavenly Father, right? And Revelation said, they shall see his face. Would you like to be hugged by God the Father? The Father himself loves you. Will you believe that? The Father himself loves you. When you love a person, what will you do? You hug the person. And I'm not an emotional person. I'm very, hugging and all this. But God the Father, I like to see God, right? Face to face. And hear from him, I love you all this while. I like to see Jesus, the marks of his crucifixion, his wounded head, his side, his hands, his feet are the only traces of the cruel work that sin has wrought. Jesus will bear all this in heaven. I like to see that. And of course, this is the thing that has been a great controversy, the greatest enigma of the heavenly beings, called the Holy Spirit. Is he God with a body, or is it the essence, spirit, force, extended mind of God the Father? I have a lot of books and PowerPoints and so on waiting for me to do study. I yet to find the time, pro and con. I like to study myself, but I yet to have time. I like to know. Would you like to know? There's so much controversy over this topic. So much so it's like a big religious divide, a political divide. People will be, when we talk on this subject, you no longer be brothers and sisters anymore. It's so heated. So each one has his own point of view. That, sometimes it's one, I just wonder, I want to leave it aside at the time being. Perhaps I may not know the answer. When I go to heaven, God will promise to know who is this, is it what it is. And then I like to meet my guardian angel. Do you know all of you have your own guardian angel? The angel who was his guardian from his earliest moment, the angel who watched his steps, covered his head in the day of peril, the angel who was with him in the valley of the shadow of death, and you wonder, nobody is with you? The angel was with you, who marked his resting place, who was the first to greet him in the resurrection morning, who will be behold to converse with him, learn the history of divine interposition in your individual life. Sometimes you wonder, wait, I'm supposed to get the accident, and then you didn't. Who did it? Angel. And then, more important, all the perplexities of life's experience will then be made plain by your guardian angel. Where to us have appeared only confusion, disappointment, broken purposes, thwarted plans, will be seen a grand, overruling, victorious purpose, a divine harmony. Wonderful it is to listen, when you're crying, when you say, why life is so unfair, life is full of trouble and suffering, and why all of a sudden you have this incurable illness. And you wonder, the angel will explain to you. And of course, this is very important, the tree of life. The tree of life, where it bears fresh crop and leaves, the tree will fall, the healing and the restoration of nations. Those of you who have no medical illness, in over the Chinese New Year, I have to treat, end-stage cancer. They spend their Chinese New Year over. And now just last night I was up in ICU until 2 a.m. because somebody in ICU, a Chinese fellow, had some problem. Would you like, that you do not have all this incurable suffering and medical illness? In my life as a doctor, I signed medical certificate, death certificate. How will you know that you don't have to die or your loved one have to die? But then remember, this tree of life, restore to the tree of life in the long lost Eden, the redeemed will grow. Remember when you were resurrected, you were the same. You're short, you're short. But you will grow up. The children will grow up. How do they grow up? Because they take the tree of life, and the leaves thereof were the healing of nations. We will grow up in the full stature, we will grow up as tall as Adam. Will you believe that? Of course, there are lots of fruits in heaven. As Mrs. White said, saw the fruit of the tree of life, the manna, the almonds, figs, pomegranates, grapes, and many other. I wonder whether it's durian or not, but I've seen many kinds of fruits. I don't know. But I like to know. Then of course, there's something I like to do. I like to space travel. Would you like to go to other worlds? We have wings to worlds afar, worlds that thrill with sorrow at the spectacle of human beings, and meet with those unfallen worlds and talk with them. They like to know, hey, what happened, you guys, how do you conquer your sin? We all sit together and then spend hours and hours talking, sharing with one another. Space travel. And I was in Los Angeles with the Disney World, and I went inside, there's a space travel, I went inside, supposed to go through all the stars and all this. And now you travel there, okay? And contemplate the creation of the vast universe is within your grasp when you reach heaven. But last question, last one. What is the saddest part of Chinese New Year? What is the saddest part of Chinese New Year? Anybody? The time is up, What part of Chinese New Year is the saddest? Can't hear you. I'll be a hearing problem now. I have to shout. Who? Please put your hand. Otherwise, I keep the money for myself. Come on, put up your hand. Huh? No, you get ang pao later on, but never say no money. You just don't forget, don't be shy. Getting ang pao is not a problem. Just stand up. If Auntie Noi forget, just go to her. My wife also, just go to her. They give one, don't worry. Chinese New Year is supposed to share your blessing. Which is the saddest part of Chinese New Year? You don't know? You don't spend Chinese New Year together with your family? Come on. Come on. Yeah? At least on earth, it's often said that all good things come to an end. Right? Some of you come to my house for party, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, late already, curfew. It wish that it will end until the next morning. But every time we have a joyous, happy gathering, we all have to say goodbye. The beginning of Chinese New Year Eve, we see everybody was so happy. But now, my mother, blood pressure has gone up already because she knew today my sister will leave, tomorrow my brothers will leave, and there's a tearful goodbye. We don't know when we'll meet again, or may not meet again on this earth. But the best of the good news is regarding the new world is that it will never come to an end. Because every Sabbath, there is a gathering in the holy city. You don't worry about the distance. Remember, you have wings to travel to worlds afar. How short is the distance to travel from Johor to Penang in case the holy city is in Penang? Very fast. Every Sabbath, there is a gathering. There is a worship service. We see God. And every time you want to go anywhere, just put on your wings and fly. There is never a goodbye. There is an eternity for us to Savior. Okay? That's why in 2 Corinthians it says, therefore do not lose heart. For a light affliction which is but for a moment is working for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. On the paradise on earth there is ever-flowing streams, clear as crystal. Beside them waving trees cast their shadows upon the paths prepared for the ransomed of the Lord. On those peaceful plains beside those living streams, God's people, so long pilgrims and wanderers, we shall find a home. I hope that we will prepare for that. And in Deuteronomy chapter 12 verse 7, there in the presence of the Lord your God, you and your family shall eat and shall rejoice in everything you have put your hand to, because the Lord your God has blessed you. I hope that this in a nutshell will make us feel excited. There is a home waiting for us to go to. And may all prepare to do that so. Happy Chinese New Year.